All right, I think I figured out how to unmute myself, so we will get started. And back out of here real quick. Sweet. Awesome, guys. So we'll go ahead and start on Unit 8, South Asia. This is going to be the next unit that we're going to go into. But before we start, I'm going to go ahead and let you know a bit of important information. So if we go into our Q3 folder, which we're in right now, you will see in our resources tab. So Q3, if you go to resources, drop down to Unit 8 South Asia. Boom, right there. It's going to be our Google Notes. So if you open this copy of the notes, you will always have a copy of the Google Notes available to you in your Google Drive. The weekly class schedule, I am updating that as of now, so you know what to expect throughout the week. This is will be up here, of course, through the end of the year. All right, so in today's folder, going to, sorry, that's last week. Here we go. So today's folder, all I have a slideshow for you for the notes if you want to go through, answer these questions individually, but also you have the South Asia map activity. So it looks familiar if you open it up. It's going to look like a graffiti map that we normally do in class. However, we're going to switch things up just a little bit. So as we're going through the notes, so each day we're going through the notes, we're going to be opening this document and we're going to be answering the questions associated with the slides that we're going over for that day. So today will be any of the questions that are associated with slides 1 through 11. So any of those questions that deal with slides 1 through 11, that's what we'll be working on today. So that's going to incorporate question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me see. And 16. So not too many today. So we can kind of break this down and kind of go into more detail about it later on and kind of focus in on important information. So other than that, things are going to be pretty much normal on how we operate. Of course, you're doing this through Nearpod, and you'll have a few questions associated throughout the Nearpod as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start the slideshow. All right, guys. So as it says right over here, you can use this slide or the map specifically on this slide to answer question 1 on your map. Also, anything that's going to be highlighted through this through these notes, very important for March 3rd. March 3rd is going to be our next test. So anything highlighted is extremely vital for you to take in because it will be important for March 3rd. All right, so South Asia. South Asia, we're going to be talking about places like Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, the Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, all located in South Asia and in the Bay of Bengal. And go ahead and click next. So physical geography and climate. There are quite a few physical aspects and climate aspects that we will be touching on today. The first one being rivers. And also, I just let this known, you always have access to this video. If I go too fast for you and you are a auditory or visual learner, definitely go back through and watch this video. But very important are the river systems. So any river systems in any region, they're going to be extremely vital for that region. And in this region specifically, so South Asia, we're going to see rivers like the Ganges River, or sometimes referred to as the Ganga. So with a G-A-N-G-A instead of the E-S. Now, this is one of the most sacred rivers for the Hindus, and that's going to be followers of Hinduism, of course. We'll talk about religion a little bit later on. Now, this river is extremely polluted. I don't know if you've seen videos of it before. Maybe we can watch a video of it, but it's extremely polluted with different pieces of trash and leftover bottles and all different kinds of stuff. And all this stuff gets washed into the river due to heavy rains that potentially cause floods. So the Ganges River also follows, or the alluvial plain also follows the Ganges River for agricultural production. So if we switch gears over here to our map, here is the Ganges or Ganga River. And the alluvial plain is actually going to start over here close to Pakistan and follow the Ganges River. This is going to be an extremely important area for agricultural production. Now, please forgive me for my pronunciation because I have never been good at pronunciating these words, but the Brahmaputra River, try to say that 5 times fast. The Brahmaputra River, known for massive floods in Bangladesh. So in this specific region, which if we're looking over here, the Brahmaputra, you're going to see a lot of massive floods in this region due to that river. This river actually, if we go down, follow it all the way this way, it's actually going to meet up with the Ganges River and it will empty into the Bay of Bengal. Another very important river is going to be the Indus River, found right up here in Pakistan. And this is going to be a cultural hearth for many ancient civilizations. Once again, pronunciation, but civilizations or cities such as Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. So this river actually flows through Pakistan and empties into the Arabian Sea, as you see here. This is going to be an important source of irrigation and transportation. So many people are going to utilize this river as transportation and sources of irrigation for many different reasons, but mainly agriculture. Some more physical features, we're going to see the Deccan Plateau, and we'll see a better visual of it in just a moment, but these are going to be some of the plateau regions. It's going to be a flat surface, but rises to hundreds of feet high, and it's going to be covered with rich black soil. This is going to be due to a lot of the rivers in the area, a lot of the deposits that you're going to see, the silt and soil deposits. It's going to be very important for agricultural growth. The Himalayas, so the mountains. This landmass collided with the southern edge of Asia about 50 million years ago. That's a long time. And this is the world's highest mountains. So we know one particular mountain, Everest, which we'll talk about in just a second. But this mountain range actually goes on for 1,500 miles or 1,500 miles, however you'd like to say that. So it separates South Asia from the rest of Asia and forms a subcontinent, the Indian subcontinent, which, for instance, India occupies most of it because India, as we see, is a very large country. So climate change. Unfortunately, there's some changes taking place in this area and new vegetation is starting to grow high up in the Himalayas, which is actually a cause for concern. Some of those polar caps that we see are starting to melt and new vegetation is starting to grow in its place. Now, Mount Everest, as we mentioned just a second ago. All right. We're back. Mount Everest is actually the peak of heaven, from what most people call it. It's a part of the Himalayas, and it's the highest mountain in the world. You've probably seen multiple videos or multiple articles or about Everest, multiple references, I should say. Many people try to climb this mountain. Some succeed, and others actually perish trying to climb to the peak. So more physical features. We're going to see the Western and Eastern Ghats. So the Western Ghats, if we look to this image to the right on the Deccan Plateau, on the western portion, we're going to see the Western Ghats. This is a mountain range covering up the western side of the Deccan Plateau. Now, This is also where you're going to find the Nilgiri Hills. The Nilgiri Hills. It's a fertile region for growing coffee and tea. So you're going to see a lot of coffee and tea being exported and grown, or grown and then exported out of this area. The Eastern Ghats. So if we're over here on the western side, we're just going to flip the script onto the eastern side. So the Eastern Ghats, it's a low mountain range bordering the Deccan Plateau as well on the eastern side. All right, so jumping over here, it's highlighted, so it is extremely important for you to know. The Indo-Gangetic or alluvial plain. So it's a fertile plain that encompasses the northern regions of the Indian subcontinent. So if we're down here, it starts all the way in Pakistan. And if we look here, the Indo-Gangetic plain goes all the way down to Bangladesh. This is an extremely fertile region. This is the world's most extensive expanse of uninterrupted alluvium, formed by the deposition of silt by numerous rivers. So all of these rivers in this region deposit the silt in this area, making it extremely fertile for agricultural production. It's going to be flat, mostly treeless, making it conducive for irrigation by means of canals. You can also use this slide to answer questions 4 and 5 on your South Asia activity map. Moving on. All right, so sorry guys. Monsoons. Monsoons are going to be extremely vital. How am I trying to say this? Monsoons are very important for climate in this region. So you have seasonal wind patterns, and during the summer, they're going to be wet, and in the winter, they're going to be dry. So it's going to be kind of like a tropical wet and dry region, where in the summers, it's a wet season, in the winters, it's going to be a dry season. In this region, you also have cyclones, which we know as hurricanes, basically. Going to be violent storms with fierce winds and heavy rain. It's going to be the most extreme weather pattern of South Asia. And we know these as hurricanes, like I said, but they're known as cyclones in the Indian Ocean. Now, there are also storm surges, which is going to be high water levels brought on by cyclones that basically create swamps in low-lying areas. We've seen these with hurricanes as well. In low-lying areas, there's portions, like if we think of parts of Houston or parts of New Orleans, after hurricanes, they become extremely flooded and swampy. Also, alluvial plains, or alluvial, like the alluvial plain, is going to be land that is rich farmland. It's composed of clay, silt, and sand, or gravel that has been deposited by running water. So all those rivers in the alluvial plain area, they deposit all those different materials or minerals in that area, which makes it ideal for agricultural growth. All right, so this is what I was talking about with the climate and monsoons. So if we're looking at this map, prevailing monsoon winds, I apologize, prevailing monsoon winds bring in warm ocean air into the region, and then the prevailing winds actually take air out during the winter months. So my question to you is, how do the monsoons affect climate? And this is going to show you, of course, another important aspect. As we know with the orographic effect and many other instances where we see prevailing winds, there's rain associated with it. So here's your average rainfall. And so I want you to look at this map, kind of analyze it, and then answer the question associated with it. So use this slide to answer question 2 on your map as well. So this map can be used to answer the question 2 on your South Asia map. Some more physical terms. We have subcontinent, landmass that is like a continent, only smaller, the Indian subcontinent. So if we're looking over here, we have the Indian subcontinent. Now, an estuary is a broadened seaward end of a river where the river's currents meet the ocean tide. This is an estuary where the river broadens and meets the sea or the ocean. Landlocked. So landlocked is going to be a country or a part of land that has no outlet to the sea. So if we look over here, Nepal and Bhutan are landlocked. They have no direct access to the ocean or sea. Terraced farming. So there's not a picture of terraced farming, but remember in Latin America when we were talking about how the Incans grew their agriculture. So it's creating flat land on mountains for agriculture. They had to adapt to their environment. And so they built those step-looking farms, or those step-looking pieces of land that go up the side of the mountain to where they could grow their agriculture. And that's called terraced farming. They look like steps, but they carve those out so they can grow agriculture in higher climates. Floods in Bangladesh caused by the Brahmaputra River. I still cannot pronounce that. But the Maldives and Bangladesh are prone to flooding due to climate change. Bangladesh experiences the cyclones that we were talking about, and they are in danger of experiencing tsunamis as well. So large waves, typically caused by a shift in landmass or earthquakes. So soon, switching gears to the Maldives, they'll be completely underwater. It's due to low levels of elevation. So they're extremely low as far as elevation goes. And a lot of the islands that are built by coral are built low. So they're built actually at lower levels of elevation. Also, some other flooding that we're going to see are going to come from glacial melts that typically provide irrigation to regions, but they could actually be entirely gone in the future. So using this slide, you can actually answer question 16 on your map. Climate. So India's climate is influenced by the shape of the subcontinent and its proximity to the equator and Indian Ocean. So the difference in temps of the air over the ocean and air over the landmass creates monsoon winds and brings those different summers and winter monsoons into the mix. Now, winds cause rainfall and temperature to fluctuate, creating wet and dry seasons. The wet season being during the summer months and the dry seasons during the winter months. Now, Pakistan and Bangladesh are subject to seasonal monsoons. Winds create 3 distinct seasons. The hot season, which is going to be happening late February to June. The hot and wet season, which is going to be June, July, and through September. And then the cool season, which is going to be October to late February. Sorry about that. My dog was barking somebody. Bhutan and Nepal have 4 climate zones: the humid subtropical, the warm temperate, highland climate, and Arctic climate. This is all going to be above 16,000 feet. So questions for you guys to answer. Why does South Asia have different climates? So one hint, look at the locations based on latitude lines. Those are going to be, of course, the horizontal lines. 30 degrees north, 20 degrees north, 10 degrees north. Remember, there are climate zones based on latitudes, highs, mids, and lows. Also, what line of tropic is this close to? Is South Asia close to? So remember, one of the tropics is either the Tropic of Capricorn or the Tropic of Cancer. One of them takes up one of these lines of latitude. Which one is it? You can use this slide to answer question 3 on your map. All right, so that's pretty much it for physical geo and climate of South Asia. We'll pick up on history at a later time, or tomorrow, I should say. But that's pretty much it. If you need to go back through, you can either use the notes that I've placed in the folder, or you can use the video once again and go back through it. But you're answering those specific questions that are on the South Asia map. All right, good luck and see you later.